Welcome back to my channel. Today, we will learn about the issue that has shaken the entire Forrester Creations empire to its core. The fashion house that was built on decades of family legacy and professional excellence is now teetering on the edge of internal collapse. And the architects of this chaos are none other than Ridge Forrester and his daughter Steffy Forrester, two of the most powerful figures in the company's history. What started as ambitious leadership decisions has transformed into a catastrophic management crisis that has forced the hand of the company's patriarch, Eric Forrester, to take drastic action that will send shockwaves through the entire organization. The rise of Ridge and Steffy's authoritarian rule. The trouble at Forrester Creations didn't happen overnight. Over the course of several episodes, viewers have witnessed a gradual and troubling shift in the management style of Ridge and Steffy. When they took control of key decision-making positions at the company, they arrived with grand visions of modernizing the brand and implementing new strategies. What began as innovative leadership quickly devolved into something far more problematic. An authoritarian approach to management that left little room for input from other executives or consideration for the well-being of the company's employees. Ridge Forrester, despite being the chief designer and later taking on broader leadership roles, began to exercise his power with an iron fist. His decisions became increasingly unilateral, with little consultation with other members of the executive team. When he determined that Eric Forrester should step aside and take early retirement, Ridge didn't simply suggest it as an option or discuss the merits of bringing in fresh perspectives with the board. Instead, he actively pressured and coerced Eric into making a decision that would remove the founder from daily operations at the company. This wasn't a respectful transition of power, it was a calculated power grab that demonstrated Ridge's willingness to manipulate even his own father to consolidate control. Steffy Forrester, emboldened by her father's aggressive tactics and her own ambitions to reshape Forrester Creations in her image, followed suit with her own controversial personnel decisions. When she made the decision to fire Dick, a decision that shocked many in the office, it wasn't made with the careful consideration that such a move deserved. Instead, it appeared to be made with the same arbitrary authority that her father had been exercising. The firing of Dick had immediate and serious repercussions, particularly for Hope Logan, who was closely associated with Dick and valued his contributions to the company. The fallout, casualties of Ridge and Steffy's regime. The impact of Ridge and Steffy's management decisions rippled throughout Forrester Creations like an earthquake, creating a landscape of dissatisfied employees, damaged relationships, and declining morale. The first major casualty was Katie Logan, who found herself at odds with Ridge over various business and personal matters. Rather than working to resolve their differences or finding common ground, Ridge's approach was to dismiss Katie's perspectives and concerns, essentially pushing her out of her position at the company. Unable to tolerate the hostile work environment created by Ridge's behavior, Katie made the difficult decision to leave Forrester Creations, a company where she had significant history and professional investment. The loss of Katie represented more than just the departure of a skilled executive. It symbolized the beginning of the end for Ridge and Steffy's regime. Katie's departure sent a clear message to other employees. If you couldn't get along with the new power structure, or if you questioned their decisions, your future at Forrester Creations was in jeopardy. This created a chilling effect throughout the organization, where people began to feel that they needed to stay silent and compliant rather than voice legitimate concerns or offer constructive criticism. The situation escalated further when Steffy's decision to terminate Dick triggered an even more significant crisis. Hope Logan, who had worked closely with Dick and recognized his value to the company, became outraged by what she perceived as an unjust and arbitrary firing. But more than just being upset about Dick's termination, Hope began to question the entire management philosophy that was being imposed on Forrester Creations. She saw firsthand how Steffy's exercise of power was capricious and self-serving, prioritizing appearances and personal preferences over fairness and competent leadership. Hope's frustration reached a breaking point, and she began seriously considering whether she wanted to continue working at Forrester Creations under these new conditions. The prospect of Hope leaving the company was particularly significant because Hope represents the next generation of fashion designers at Forrester, and her departure would represent a substantial loss of talent and continuity for the organization. If Hope followed Katie out the door, it would signal to the fashion industry at large that Forrester Creations was experiencing serious internal problems. Eric's observation, the pattern of abuse. While Ridge and Steffy were consolidating their power and making unilateral decisions about personnel, Eric Forrester was watching from the sidelines and he was not pleased with what he was seeing. Despite having stepped back from day-to-day operations, Eric maintained his significant shareholding in Forrester Creations, and more importantly, he maintained his ability to observe the company's direction and performance. Eric, who had built Forrester Creations into a global fashion powerhouse through decades of hard work, strategic thinking, and respect for his employees, could clearly see that the company he loved was being damaged by the current leadership. Eric's concerns extended beyond mere business performance metrics. He recognized a pattern of behavior that he found deeply troubling. Ridge and Steffy were consistently abusing their power positions. They were making decisions without adequate consultation, dismissing the concerns of experienced executives, removing employees without due process or proper consideration, and creating a culture of fear and intimidation throughout the organization. This was antithetical to everything Eric had built at Forrester Creations. The situation became increasingly untenable as Eric witnessed more and more talented people becoming dissatisfied and considering their options. He understood that if this trend continued, Forrester Creations would lose key personnel and talented designers, which would ultimately damage the company's ability to compete in the highly competitive fashion industry. Moreover, Eric recognized that the company culture was being poisoned by the arbitrary and authoritarian management style that Ridge and Steffy had implemented. Eric's dissatisfaction with the management approach of Ridge and Steffy came to a head as he observed how they handled personnel decisions without consideration for the broader implications for company morale and organizational health. He saw how Katie had been effectively pushed out, how Dick had been fired in a manner that sparked controversy, and how Hope was now questioning her future at the company. These weren't isolated incidents, they were symptoms of a deeper problem with how power was being exercised at Forrester Creations. The power play, Eric's strategic response. Given his substantial shareholding in Forrester Creations, in fact, Eric maintained the largest single shareholding in the company. Eric possessed the ultimate power to address the crisis that Ridge and Steffy had created. While other executives might have been forced to tolerate the authoritarian management style, Eric had the leverage necessary to force a change. And that's exactly what he decided to do. When the shareholders' meeting was convened, Eric came prepared with a clear agenda to remove Ridge and Steffy from their positions of power at Forrester Creations. This was not a decision that Eric made lightly or in anger. Instead, it was a calculated business decision based on his assessment that the current leadership was damaging the company's prospects and creating an unsustainable work environment. Eric voted his considerable shares in favor of removing both Ridge and Steffy from their leadership positions. The decision to fire Ridge and Steffy was made possible by Eric's controlling interest in the company, but it was also motivated by a genuine concern for the welfare of Forrester Creations as an institution and for the employees who depended on the company for their livelihoods. Eric understood that sometimes difficult decisions need to be made for the greater good of the organization, even when those decisions involve family members. He had to choose between loyalty to his son and daughter on one hand and loyalty to the company and its employees on the other hand. Ultimately, Eric's sense of responsibility to the institution and the people who worked there took precedence. The shock and the coming storm. When Eric's decision to terminate Ridge and Steffy was announced, the shock waves reverberated through the Forrester offices. Ridge and Steffy, who had grown accustomed to wielding unchecked power and making unilateral decisions, were completely blindsided by their father's move. They had apparently believed that their control of the company was secure, that their decision-making authority was beyond question, and that Eric would either passively accept their management approach or was too far removed from daily operations to mount any meaningful challenge. The shock that Ridge and Steffy experienced upon learning of their termination was profound. These were individuals who had dominated decision-making at Forrester Creations for an extended period, who had shaped personnel decisions, who had set strategic direction, and who had exercised power without meaningful constraint. The sudden reversal of their fortunes was jarring and disorienting. Moreover, the public nature of their removal announced at a shareholders' meeting added an additional layer of humiliation and loss of face for both of them. For Ridge, the firing represented a stunning reversal of his fortunes. He had believed that his position as chief designer and his role in the company's strategic direction had made him indispensable. The fact that his own father could remove him from his position, and moreover that Eric was willing to do so despite the family connection, demonstrated that Ridge had miscalculated his actual power within the organization. Ridge's pride was wounded, and his sense of being wronged would undoubtedly fuel his response to this development. Steffy's shock was equally profound, though perhaps even more significant given that she had been presented by many as the future of Forrester Creations and the rightful heir to its leadership. Her rapid rise through the ranks and her assumption of significant power had led her to believe that her position was secure and that her authority was unquestionable. Eric's decision to remove her from her position was therefore not just a business setback, but a personal rebuff that challenged her self-image and her place within the family hierarchy. The inevitable conflict, a war on the horizon. The most significant consequence of Eric's decision to fire Ridge and Steffy is not the immediate disruption to Forrester Creations' operations, though there will certainly be disruption, but rather the certainty that a major conflict is about to explode. Ridge and Steffy are not the types of individuals who would quietly accept their removal from power. Both of them have demonstrated strong personalities, deep ambitions, and significant egos. The combination of these traits means that they will not simply fade away quietly or accept Eric's decision as final. A war is definitely coming to Forrester Creations, and this will not be a minor disagreement or a simple corporate dispute that can be resolved through normal channels. Instead, this conflict will likely involve personal attacks, strategic maneuvering, legal challenges, family drama, and attempts by Ridge and Steffy to regain their lost power and influence. They may attempt to mobilize other shareholders, might seek to find allies within the company, or could even consider taking legal action if they believe they have grounds to challenge their termination. Moreover, the conflict is likely to spill over into the personal realm, straining relationships within the Forrester family. Eric's willingness to remove his son and daughter from their positions demonstrates that he is willing to put the company's interests above family loyalty, which could create lasting resentment. Ridge, in particular, might feel betrayed by Eric's action, viewing it as a rejection not just of his management decisions, but of Ridge himself. The coming conflict will undoubtedly test the loyalty of other Forrester family members and executives who must decide which side to support. Will they stand with Eric and his decision to remove Ridge and Steffy? Or will they sympathize with Ridge and Steffy and work to help them regain their positions? These questions will determine the trajectory of the coming conflict and will likely have major implications for the future direction of Forrester Creations. Conclusion: the beginning of a new chapter. The firing of Ridge and Steffy from their leadership positions at Forrester Creations represents a pivotal moment in the series. It marks the end of one chapter, the chapter in which Ridge and Steffy wielded unchecked power and made unilateral decisions that alienated key personnel and damaged company morale. It marks the beginning of a new chapter filled with uncertainty, conflict, and the potential for significant change. Eric's decision was necessary and justified given the pattern of abuse and mismanagement that Ridge and Steffy had engaged in. By removing them from power, Eric has demonstrated that leadership requires more than just ambition and family connection. It requires judgment, respect for others, and a commitment to the welfare of the organization and its people. The coming conflict between Eric and his son and daughter will be dramatic and compelling, and viewers can expect major developments as Ridge and Steffy respond to their removal from power. This is just the beginning of a war that will shake Forrester Creations to its foundations. Next, we're diving into a story full of joy, celebration, and heartwarming holiday energy. And it's all about the one and only Don Diamond, the fan-favorite star who brings Dollar Bill Spencer to life on The Bold and the Beautiful. As the year draws to a close, Don isn't just savoring the magic of the season, he's living it to the fullest with his TV family, his loved ones, and his grateful heart for another unforgettable year. Don Diamond's joy-filled December. There's something undeniably charming about the way Don Diamond celebrates life. This December, the beloved actor seems to have captured the very essence of holiday cheer. The halls are decked, laughter fills the air, and from every photo he's shared, you can practically feel the warmth coming through. It's not just a party season for him, it's a reflection of a man who embraces connection and tradition in every form. In a series of joyful posts, Don shared snippets from various celebrations, the official The Bold and the Beautiful holiday party, his family's own gathering, and even his personal Hanukkah festivities. Each image offered a peek into a world where friendship, community, and faith come together in a beautiful blend. His caption summed it all up perfectly. December celebrations abound. Next stop, Christmas and New Year's. Wishing peace and goodwill above all and for all, along with the happiest of holidays. But what makes these posts feel so special is not just his words, it's the genuine light in his smile. As fans scrolled through his 9-slide collection, they noticed familiar faces and familiar warmth, a sense that the B&B cast isn't merely co-workers, but something closer to an extended family. Holiday moments with The Bold and the Beautiful cast. The highlight for fans was seeing Don side by side with some of his Bold and the Beautiful co-stars. Among them were industry icons like Catherine Kelly Lang, who plays Brooke Logan, the ever-powerful matriarch of the Logan clan, John McCook, the wise and beloved Eric Forrester, and Kimberlyn Brown, whose portrayal of Sheila continues to send shivers down viewers' spines even decades after her debut. Also joining the frame were Krumaro, Sean Kanan, and Lisa Yamada, whose recent daytime Emmy win made her departure from the soap all the more bittersweet. Don's camaraderie with his co-stars leapt off the screen. It wasn't just a lineup of actors posing for a quick snapshot, but rather a collection of genuine friends cherishing one another's company after endless hours of shared storylines, laughs, and perhaps even tears. Insiders report that the B&B holiday party was an extravaganza this year, elegantly decorated, filled with bright lights, and featuring playful moments that reminded fans why this cast remains one of daytime television's most close-knit ensembles. While fans caught glimpses of the evening through social media, it's easy to imagine the laughter echoing through the venue as each actor, crew member, and producer raised a glass to another successful year of drama, passion, and plot twists. Family first, the man behind Dollar Bill. For all his fame and red carpet confidence, Don has never hidden his love for family. Holiday celebrations in the Diamond household are not just about fancy events or glitzy outfits. They're about creating memories that matter. His posts featured not just the professional festivities, but intimate family gatherings where the actor appears comfortable, happy, and grounded. Friends close to Don often mention how devoted he is as a father and husband. His willingness to share small glimpses of personal life only enhances his authenticity. During Hanukkah, for instance, he posted warm family shots featuring the menorah glowing gently behind them, a reminder of his deep connection to his faith and heritage. Don's approach to tradition is one of joy and gratitude, blending Jewish festivities with broader holiday spirit. Whether it's baking treats with family, exchanging thoughtful gifts, or simply taking time to reflect on the past year, Don's December seems to capture the best of both worlds, the glamour of Hollywood and the heart of home. On-screen success, Dollar Bill Spencer's roller coaster year. Meanwhile, over in the fictional world of the bold and the beautiful, Don's alter ego is experiencing quite the turnaround story. Dollar Bill Spencer, the powerful businessman known for his ruthless tactics and complicated love life, has managed to find himself unexpectedly back in the center of romance and redemption. This past year on B&B, fans saw Bill taking massive emotional risks. After years of tension, missteps, and missed chances, he decided to pour his heart out to Katie Logan again. His proposal, filled with sincerity that few thought possible from the previously cutthroat mogul, was a defining moment. When Katie finally agreed to a mock ceremony with just a handful of their nearest and dearest, the moment marked not only a symbolic union, but also a dose of hope that longtime fans had almost given up on. In true Dollar Bill fashion, his wedding gift was no small gesture. A fashion house built especially for his bride was his way of saying, "You are my equal, my partner, my queen." That kind of extravagant move reminded fans why Bill Spencer remains one of the most fascinating characters in daytime drama. Flawed, charming, and fiercely devoted once he finally lets his guard down. Trouble ahead for the Logan sisters. But as any soap fan knows, happiness never lasts long under the bright lights of Los Angeles elite. As the show moves into the new year, the tension among the Logan sisters is heating up. Katie, having regained a sense of independence, might begin to distance herself from Brooke and Ridge's constant whirlwind. Viewers have noticed subtle shifts in her character, stronger boundaries, a new confidence, and perhaps a quiet decision to put herself first for once. How will Dollar Bill react if the woman he fought so hard to win back decides to stand on her own again? Could this be the calm before another emotional storm? The writers at The Bold and the Beautiful have built the perfect setup for explosive drama in 2026. Fans can almost hear the dialogue crackling with tension already. At the same time, there's speculation that Bill's business empire may again intertwine with Forrester Creations, meaning professional conflicts could reignite just as personal relationships become fragile. The balance of power, love, and loyalty in this soap universe is shifting yet again. A year-end win on and off camera. Beyond the drama and glamour, the parallel between Don Diamond and Dollar Bill is striking. Both men, in their own realms, are closing out the year on remarkable high notes. Don, with his real-life joy, friendship, and family ties, and Bill, through his emotional growth and attempts at redemption. For fans, this dual triumph feels satisfying, as though fiction and reality have come full circle. Don's charisma and warmth have always infused his on-screen persona with an authenticity that makes even the most dramatic plots believable. And seeing him celebrate December surrounded by love reminds everyone that behind the tailored suits and confident smirks, there's an artist who truly appreciates the gift of connection. Looking ahead to 2026, as The Bold and the Beautiful gears up for another year filled with twists, Don Diamond stands ready to bring even more depth to Dollar Bill. Rumors suggest that major business shakeups and shock romantic entanglements could put him right back at the center of the drama where he belongs. Fans can expect emotional intensity, old rivalries flaring, and maybe even some unexpected alliances as the Logan and Spencer families continue their long-running saga. And while the show thrives on conflict, off-camera, its star continues to embody the very opposite: harmony, kindness, and a remarkable sense of gratitude. So, as fans everywhere unwrap gifts and toast to the new year, Don Diamond's message lingers in the air: peace, goodwill, and happiness for all. Whether on-screen as Dollar Bill or off-screen as himself, he's proving that ending the year on a high note isn't just luck. It's a reflection of how you choose to live each day with heart.